My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures.
You know, one of the interesting things about Gandalf is that he's over 6,000 years old. What are elements of Gandalf that you have created in your mind, like maybe a birth date or a favorite food of his that helps you get into the character?
There were all sorts of aspects of his life that I thought somehow they ought to make it into the film. I'd like to see Gandalf waking up in the morning. I mean, what does he wear when he sleeps? He seems to sleep in his own clothes. Must be a bit whiffy, but you never see anyone washing in Middle-earth, do you?
No.
Ablution doesn't seem to be
Does
part
he
of
shower?
You never see Gandalf taking a pee. I thought it'd be fun to see him relieving himself against some great native New Zealand tree, and imagine in 3D.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that would be epic. That would be so amazing.
But I do imagine that he's the sort of man who likes to live on the land, a little bit like the New Zealanders. I mean, he likes to tramp and he likes to be in touch. He cares about the fabric of the earth and Middle Earth and, of course, the people in it. I know a few things about him that I won't confide.
I wonder if he lived...
But he seems to have had a love life. I mean, in this movie, I mean, Galadriel and he seem to go back, and who knows what the backstory is there.
While I can honestly say I have told you the truth, I may not have told you all of it.
Bilbo Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Can I geek out with you for a second?
Why the hell not?
Because I'm a big geek, and I've always wanted to know...
I've got tissues with me.
Yeah.
I can clean up afterwards, yeah.
Can we cry together?
Yeah, man.
I would love to cry with Bilbo Baggins. That'd be amazing. I have to ask you, can you walk me through a shot with you and Gandalf and talk about a two-shot where you guys are both standing there? How do they make you look so small and make him look so tall? Can you walk me through that?
Various ways. One way is we are just there together. You know, if you're seeing us in our entirety, so you're seeing the ground, then we can both be there. I'm looking at Ian, Ian's looking at me, but I'm looking at the top of Ian's hat, and he's looking at my chest. Then in post-production, they will enlarge him, and because of where we're looking, it will look like we're looking at eyes. Okay. Another way is him literally on a rostrum. So if the shot is here, then all you'll see is just me being 3 feet shorter than him. Another way is that he films his stuff on a whole different set, and to me, he films his on a smaller green set, and so I'm just looking up at tape on the ceiling, and he's looking down at a tennis ball down there. There are various ways of doing it.
As an actor, though, when you're having to do that for the screen, for us to believe you're looking at a taller person, how are you able to still stay in character and then also think about the fact that you're looking at someone's hat?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard in a way. There is difficulty in that.
Yeah.
And it's not the ideal, obviously, because we're talking to each other, we're looking at each other. If I was looking there, you would notice it, and you go, "Why isn't he looking at me?" You know, so it's. So when two people are doing a scene, it's totally natural. You just want to look at them, you're right. So it is hard because eventually you forget and you kind of keep wanting to do that. Actually look at a human being the way you do, but you discipline yourself just to not do it because it'll work much better if you obey the rules.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins.
Wait!
Of Bag End.
Bilbo, allow me to introduce Fili, Kili, Oin, Loin, Darlin, Balin, Biffa, Bofa, Bomba, Nori, Ori.
Now, you've played two of the most iconic characters of my generation, at least Magneto and Gandalf.
I know, amazing.
It's amazing to me. If those two were to meet, if they were to meet up, let's say for a lunch, what would they talk about? Like, how do you think, knowing the characters as well as you do by playing them, how would that meeting
Well,
go?
I think they might well have a disagreement about how you change the world, which clearly Magneto wants to do, and I suspect Gandalf is a bit of a conservative, but he does like to sort out people's problems, and it would be interesting to see what take he had on mutancy, and I think he would respect the mutants, and he would want to discourage them from being disruptive, but he would want to encourage the rest of mankind to accept this minority who are different, but have their individual fascinating qualities. And that seems to be how he functions in Middle-earth. He looks after dwarves and elves and hobbits. So I guess they'd probably have an interesting conversation, but they'd be rather wary of each other.
The leader of our company, Thorin Oakenshield.
dungeons deep and caverns old.
I hope that you don't make fun of me for it, but I get teary-eyed when I watch the trailer and hear you singing that song.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and then I saw it in the movie last night and I just couldn't handle it.
What is it that makes you feel that? What is it?
I think it's just the epicness of Howard Shore's music
Yeah.
over it. So I was wondering, do you still know the lyrics?
Yeah.
If I learned it, like the first 4 lines, could we possibly sing together? Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns
I'll
old.
never be a dwarf. You're completely out of tune.
Was I bad?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're totally
out of
you're
tune.
totally off key.
Could we try the pines? The pines are. All right. The pines are roaring.
So you're off tune.
How do I stay in tune though with you?
You have to go deeper.
The pines were roaring on the high. The winds were moaning in the night.
I sat down with Spielberg for Tintin, and one of the questions I asked him, which I found fascinating about his answer, was, do you want people to understand that there are people behind the motion capture? He goes, my fervent hope is to want the audience, once the light goes down, is to just be engaged in the story. Yes. As an actor behind that technology, where is that balance for you of people understanding what you're doing versus them being engaged in the story?
That's a very, very good question. Obviously, I mean, they're 2 separate things. You don't want people to start thinking about what the underlying, the performance is, the character that you see on screen. Yeah. You've got to be emotionally engaged in those characters, whether it be sort of more of an animated feel like there was on Tintin, or in the case, or in a very, very kind of photo-real case like Gollum. The audience can't be thinking, how is the technology working that's making this, or is there an actor underneath this makeup? It's the same with prosthetic makeup. You don't want anyone to be thinking about the making side of it. They've got to be totally engaged in the character, like John Hurt playing John Merrick, in The Elephant Man. You wouldn't want to think, oh, that's a great actor under there playing that role.
What is it? Precious, what is it?
I'm Bilbo Baggins.
Baggins? What's it? Baggins?
I'm a hobbit from the Shire.
Oh, we like goblins and bats and fishes, but we hasn't tried hobbitses before.
However, from a kind of objective point of view and a kind of an educational point of view within the film industry, of course I want people to understand how it works, because all it is it's traditional acting with a different form of cloaking and a different form of costume. It's a digital costume and makeup, and that's the thing. And I think what people don't understand about the process of performance capture is that that the actor authors the role all the way through, as a traditional actor would, on set with other actors, with a director. That's then their materials then cut into the movie. It's only months later on that the sort of digital makeup, if you like, is put on, and the visual effects are applied to what is essentially the entire performance.
The fire was red, it flaming spread, the trees like torches blazed with light.
He doesn't think he has this potential, but over the film he does surprise himself.
Absolutely, yeah.
What was a moment in your career where you didn't think you had the potential for something and then you surprised the hell out of yourself?
I don't know. I mean, that could be potentially quite a self-aggrandizing answer. I was surprised by how well I got on with the amount of green screen in this. I thought I would find that more problematic than I did. I thought I would actually sort of dislike it, and I think I'd almost dislike it on principle, because I like looking at people in the eye, right? But the amount of green screen on this showed me that, well, no, it's just about using your imagination. It's about pretending in the most pure way that when I was playing war as a kid, I wasn't really seeing Germans, I was having to pretend the Germans, So there's a lot of that involved in Pete's films, where you've got to pretend, and if you're going to be precious about it, then you're in the wrong film.
No pun intended on the word precious, by the way. Yeah. We can cry now. We're good to cry now.
I'm crying inside.
I'm crying inside as well. Hey,
Kevin, nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
I cannot guarantee his safety. Understood. Nor will I be responsible for his fate.
You're very familiar with the stage, obviously. You've done stage work, obviously. So I want to ask you, as an actor, could you show me how you would deliver a line of Gandalf on stage versus how you would deliver the line in the film?
Well, I don't want to burst the microphone, which is up here, but on stage, and on screen, you are communicating with an audience. Now, in film, the audience is here. Very close, so I don't have to shout. But if the character is further away, then I'm going to lift my voice automatically. And if it's further away still, it won't necessarily get louder, but it'll be more thrown. You see, and over there, it'll be even not louder again, but the intention has to be there. And that's true in the theatre. You don't necessarily have to speak louder, but you have to want to speak to those people, and it'll probably make you over-enunciate, at least the camera it would seem false to the camera, but it won't seem false to people up there. And inside, your mind is working in exactly the same way.
You'll have a tale or two to tell when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No.
Can I have a geeky question for you? And this is kind of a hypothetical, so I know it would never happen, but if you could hypothetically go back in the history of cinema and recreate a famous performance, famous character, using motion capture technology, who would you want to recreate?
It would probably be Charles Laughton's Hunchback of Notre Dame, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you think motion capture would play into that character?
Well, actually, I think it could work really well. I mean, it's he's such a. There's such heart in that character. There's such a strong emotional core. But obviously, he's so in a way he's very much a loner, like King Kong, actually. So he's quite. Obviously very disturbed and very in his own space, but I mean, I just love the way that Charles Laughton really, you just felt so much for that character, although he was quite dangerous and edgy as a role as well.
Have you ever been walking around in daily life or woke up one morning and just kind of went into the mindset of a character by just because you get so involved in them emotionally? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're working deeply on a character, I mean, I have to say it used to happen more earlier in my career. I think when I think I was much more of a method actor in my earlier career, and particularly on stage, and actually working for directors like Mike Leigh, where you're totally inhabiting a role over a long period of time, over months and months and months, where the rehearsal process goes on for a long period of time. That's happened lots of times.
And if you do, you will not be the same.
My name is Bilbo Baggins.
Well, listen, congratulations to you. Sorry if my singing was terrible. I was trying to do it.
Over the misty mountains cold. You got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
Bagginses. What is Baggins's precious?